Finally, they're gone. I can keep these pennies to myself now.
Hey, we're watching Zesty Jesus.
The gas passer is the worst item in the game.
No, the Sandman is the worst item in the game. It doesn't even work half of the time, and the lower health sucks.
Nah, mate, the Sonic Stick is the worst weapon in the game. Why is there such
How can this rusty canister of fluorescent horse piss be worse than any of the other favorite punching bags in the community? How do I know that the gas passer is bad? Covering the worst item in the game popped into my head, and I was like, man, this is a great idea for a video. I did the best item in the game, why not the worst item? And excitedly I looked around on YouTube and, much to my expected dismay, saw that the concept of worst items or bad items in TF2 has been covered every which way down to Sunday. So I watched a few of these videos, and I found that most of them dance around several similar conclusions. This item is bad because 1. I can't get kills with it or use it. 2. Its stats make it too weak, counterintuitive, too situational, etc. Or 3. It isn't fun to play with or play against. These are all valid statements that point towards something bigger, and that is an objective way to identify whether or not an item is bad. We just don't have a baseline or rules for what is bad. I also realized that I have done the same thing in the opposite sense. I said that the battalion's backup is the best item in the game, but I didn't define a baseline for what is good. So, what does make an item bad or good? If we can figure out a way to answer this question, then we can show why the gas passer is the worst item in the game. What is the baseline? What is the definitive good benchmark by which all items should be compared? I deliberated heavily on this question for a while, and after a lot of thought and conversations with other players, I developed 4 rules that should clearly define whether or not an item is good or bad. I attempted to keep these rules as simple and objective as possible, but me just being one guy, it was inevitable that some of my own biases leaked out into their development. So take what I say from here on out with a grain of salt. Each of these rules is best explained through the use of examples. So let's get started with rule number 1. Does the item do what the stats say it's supposed to do? Is the item consistent in its design? Is it reliable in that its stats work? And is it not bugged or broken to a point where it affects that consistency? An item that abides by this rule will always work and deliver the same result in almost every scenario you use it in. The best examples of items that fit this rule are most stock weapons. When you pick up a stock weapon, you know what it's going to do. Their functionality is clear, predictable, and always works. An example of an item that violates this rule is the Sandman. The Sandman is bugged. More specifically, the slow effect in TF2 is bugged. You can negate any slow effects by strafing rapidly. It's a bug that's existed for years, so when you pick up the Sandman, you do deal the same amount of melee damage and receive 10 less max health, but you don't always get that slowing effect. It's bugged, ergo not consistent. You don't always get the same result, therefore it's not reliable. You don't know if it's going to work or not. Rule number 2. Is the item well balanced? Is the item good in most scenarios, but weak in others? Do its downsides adequately balance out its upsides? The item must also abide by trickle-down balancing. If the item is balanced for the highest levels of play, then it's probably fine for everybody else. For example, the Cloak and Dagger. You sacrifice your ability to move great distances while invisible because you can't pick up ammo while cloaked, and your cloak drains faster, but you can remain infinitely cloaked while standing still. It's powerful in that you can wait indefinitely for the right moment to strike, but you can't be so mobile as to follow your target if needed. It's weak in some scenarios, but stronger in others. It's a balanced favorite for new and veteran players alike. An item that is not balanced in accordance with this rule is the Wrangler. Just by changing to your secondary, you can triple the health of your sentry gun, double its damage output, infinitely extend its range.
A brief note in post here because I forgot a couple of things. 1, your sentry gun also gets aim assist, and 2, even better, despite the stats saying that your gun takes 66% less healing per swing, when the shield is up, your sentry's healing is effectively not reduced, because your sentry also takes 66% less damage. In this clip, I used 11 metal to heal for 33 health, but with a 66% damage reduction, that's effectively 99 health, not 33, or the amount of health that I would have healed the sentry gun for were the shield down and me using 33 metal instead of 11. So there's effectively no healing penalty for sentries with the Wrangler shield up. Nice.
But the only downsides are that the game doesn't aim for you, mostly. You lose your pistol, and your sentry is disabled for 3 seconds after you stop wrangling it. But it can be immediately re-wrangled at any time and healed. At lower skill levels, the Wrangler is really good, but at higher skill levels, this item can be, quite frankly, fucking broken. Its upsides are not appropriately balanced by its downsides. Rule number 3. Does the weapon promote the skillful development of the player? Does the item rely on the skill of the player to be effective? Does it not rely on too many external or niche factors to be used effectively? Weapons that fall into this category primarily rely on the skill of the player to be good, and rarely rely on things that are outside of a player's control. It makes the player want to get better at the game, and it rewards them appropriately for doing so. For example, an item that falls into this category is the Mad Milk. Its benefit, which is returning health from damage dealt, relies on the player's ability to hit shots with their primary weapon, and knowing the right situations to use the milk in to benefit himself and his team. The usefulness of the Mad Milk is entirely within the control of the player, and it rewards the player appropriately as he builds up skill. An item that does not fall into this category is the Sun on a Stick. Its utilities, which are a 15% resistance to fire when active, and critical hits on burning players, not only rely entirely on the presence of an enemy pyro, but a pyro on the player's team as well. These are just things that are outside of the player's control. The usefulness of the Sun on a Stick relies entirely on external factors to work, and its effectiveness does not adequately evolve with the player. Finally, and most importantly, rule number 4. Is the item fun? Does it give you that dopamine kick when you use it? And, equally as important, do players still have fun and not feel cheated when they have to play against it?
If it's not fun, why bother?
A clear-cut sign of a bad item is when players don't want to use it because they don't find it rewarding or satisfying. Items should also not make players feel cheated, or at an unfair disadvantage when they are fighting against it. An example of an item that abides by this rule is, guess what? The Loose Cannon. This weapon has an interesting mechanic that rewards players for good timing and aim, and it's very satisfying to play with. You get a huge dopamine kick when you land a double donk, and when players get hit by it, they don't think, "Oh man, that's horse shit." They think, "Damn, I just got double donked," because everyone knows that consistently landing double donks is challenging, but very fun. And what should be a surprise to no one, an item that does not satisfy this rule is the Short Circuit. Oh geez. Balancing aside, when players are at the receiving end of the Short Circuit, they do not consider it fair and fun. Having your skill, which is the ability to shoot in a first-person shooter, suddenly turned off because you are at the mercy of someone else operating the switch, a switch that is also completely out of your control, is not something that most would consider fun to play against. No player feels rightly defeated when they die as a result of the Short Circuit. Most feel cheated out of a fair fight. They think, why should the engineer, his sentry, and his team be allowed to fight and defend themselves when I can't? Now that we have the rules defined, something that is very important to understand is that no weapon abides by all of these rules perfectly. Each item fulfills each rule to a certain degree, kind of like a sliding scale. A weapon can be functional, supposedly skill-based, and supposedly well-balanced, but not fun to play against. A weapon can be poorly functional, but can be well-balanced, skill-based, and fun to play with. A good weapon is a weapon that satisfies as many of these rules as possible, as much as possible, while a bad weapon does the opposite. We can now confidently ask, what is the worst item in the game? I say, it's the Gas Passer, because this item doesn't satisfy any of the aforementioned rules to a reasonable degree, if at all. Oh, it's bad.
You know, you light one bitch on fire and everybody freaks out.
Alright, fuck it. Rule number 1. Does the Gas Passer do what its stats say it's supposed to do? Is it reliable and consistent? The Gas Passer does have a well-defined functionality, and it works, but it's just a bit buggy sometimes. Just because you throw the gas doesn't mean it's going to explode on the surface it hits. Some surfaces cause for the projectile to just bounce away and explode where you didn't want it to go. Aside from this, the Gas Passer does work as advertised. Players who get doused in the gas and then take any form of damage, including self-damage, even from jumper weapons, will get set on fire for full afterburn. You do know what this item is going to do. It is consistent, but only in its functionality. This weapon is by no means consistent in any other capacity, and the rest of the rules are more than enough to explain why. Rule number 2. Is the Gas Passer well balanced? Hell no. The Gas Passer is not well balanced. This item's upsides are nowhere near good enough to balance out its downsides. Why? The Gas Passer is largely ineffective, inconsistent, and frankly unavailable most of the time because it charges so damn slow. Most of the time spent using the Gas Passer is spent waiting for it to charge. This is because the Gas Passer's recharge follows a set 1-minute timer that is not refilled by respawns and resupply lockers. Alternatively, you can deal 750 damage to bring the Gas Passer up to a full charge. The comic nature of this statement aside, the damage you deal does stack with the 1-minute timer, and as a bonus, the current charge carries over between deaths. But think about that for a second. That's 750 damage with a flamethrower, a weapon that has limited range and only deals decent amounts of damage when directly hitting players for an extended period of time. Even under direct flame damage, it takes a considerable amount of time to even charge up the Gas Passer. Damage from your melee weapon and reflected projectiles also contribute towards the charge meter, but these also suffer from similar range and timing constraints. So aside from air-blasted projectiles, and telefrags and taunt kills, but whoop-de-fucking-do, these are pointless, users have to aggressively engage the enemy head-on in order to deal any damage at all, because they lack a ranged damage-dealing secondary. The only ways to secure damage, to not only charge the Gas Passer, but to be an effective pyro in general, are to either 1. Wait around for enemies to walk into you so you can burn them or reflect their projectiles, or 2. Front towards enemy and WM1 yourself to death over and over again. Unfortunately, the WM1 aka death by aggressive suicide option is by far the most effective way to charge the Gas Passer, because this way, you can charge it within a reasonable amount of time so it has some tangible impact. Tangible in that the gas managed to deal some damage because it finally had an opportunity to be used. These downsides aside, let's think about the trade-off for how much damage you have to deal for how much damage you can get in return. The Gas Passer only deals afterburn damage, or 80 damage over the course of 10 seconds to a single player. But afterburn can be stopped or shortened by health packs, healing sources, other pyros who extinguish the flames, other items like the Mad Milk, the Girardi, the Gas Passer itself, wetting map elements, etc. The gas itself can be removed by healing, charging as Demo Knight, or getting wet. And the gas isn't reapplied if an enemy walks through the gas cloud again. So, in the highly unlikely best case scenario, say you douse the entire enemy team, A full stack of 12. That's potentially 960 damage, assuming, and this is a big assumption, that all 12 players get doused, then take damage to get set on fire, and touch no health packs, don't get healed, and don't get extinguished over the course of 10 seconds. This just doesn't happen. Most of the time, you don't even manage to set anyone on fire, and even if you do, it's usually only 1 or 2 people, and they typically take only about half the total afterburn damage because they almost always find a way to get extinguished. Ultimately, you trade 1 minute of no secondary item or 750 damage from your limited range primary and melee weapons for an inconsistent, throwable projectile that almost always deals less than 80 damage or no damage at all. The gas passer is not well balanced. Rule number 3. Does the gas passer promote the skillful development of the player? Simply put, no. Because, unfortunately, in order to maximize what little effectiveness the gas passer has, you need to throw the item into a group of enemies, or into a choke point that enemies are likely going to advance or retreat through. These locations are normally well out of the range of your flamethrower and melee options. This means that the damage dealing capability of the gas passer almost completely relies on enemies taking damage from your teammates, not you, unless you are close enough to use your primary weapon. Then the damage dealing capability of the gas passer is in your control. But there is no additional benefit with comboing the gas passer with your flamethrower. You are guaranteed full afterburn, but you don't deal any extra damage. And at this point, if you are close enough to use your flamethrower, just use your flamethrower. You would deal more damage from direct flames and get the same amount of afterburn most of the time. Given that there is no additional benefit for pyros to use their own gas, you truly do not have a secondary item ever at your disposal when you are using the gas passer. Even when you throw it, the gas passer's effectiveness completely relies on external factors that are out of your control in order for it to be useful. Also, fun fact, if another pyro ignites someone doused in your gas, the afterburn doesn't contribute towards recharging your gas passer. They effectively steal your damage. So if they had a gas passer, it would recharge theirs instead.
Is it charging your gas passer?
Yes.
Of course it is.
This only happens with flamethrowers though, and not with items like flare guns, the Dragon's Fury, or the Hulong Heater. Oh, of course, how could I forget? Your melee weapon. Sure, you could try really hard to throw the gas, swap to an extinguisher, and hit someone twice to combo kill them, but at that point, it's just not worth it. It really isn't. The effectiveness of the gas passer is almost always out of the player's control, and when it is in their control, it provides no additional benefit, so it might as well not even be there. The gas passer does not promote the skillful development of the player, because the player never benefits from the item's existence in any capacity. I would like to apologize in advance for hollering. We are nearing the end, my voice is hoarse, and I'm going to close this video with rule number 4. Is the gas passer fun to play with? I tried really fucking hard to make an argument for this one. All I can say is yes, it is satisfying. I'm talking lukewarm, tepid levels of satisfying to land a good gas passer throw, good quote unquote. And you might have a slight intimidation factor against the enemy team because they see big green gas cloud and go, oh shit, I can't walk through that. But beyond that, no, God no. The gas passer is not a fun item to play with. You are missing a secondary item at all times. So that's a third of your impact and fun gone. I would say that you almost completely forget that the gas passer is even equipped, but no, you have a constant reminder, like a thorn in your side, that you are playing at half capacity. Because every time you try to switch to your secondary, guess what? There isn't anything there. Any benefits that a secondary grants to help you win a fight, escape, help someone else are simply not there. Getting chased down by another pyro and don't have a shotgun? You're fucked. Sniper in the distance and you don't have a flare gun to ward him off? Guess you'll die. Oh, but wait, he can just equip the Darwin's Danger Shield and then also completely negate the only use the gas passer has against him. This makes the gas passer not fun or satisfying to use in any capacity, because it just doesn't work as a weapon, a support item, a utility, anything, because of how slow and unimpactful it is. And when you do have the gas passer charged, it is hideously ineffective across the board. Afterburn is such a slow and low source of damage as it is without something like a flare gun to follow it up. So having an item that only deals afterburn damage with nothing to pair it with is simply pitiful. There is no reward, no dopamine kick, no incentive to even touch this item. There is absolutely no reason why you should even consider using the gas passer outside of NBM. Take it from a guy that just spent 2 months straight playing with this damn item. I was using it so much that I came so close to just giving up the endeavor of making this video altogether. I even contemplated quitting the game because of the agony I was putting myself through in order to scrape together enough footage with it in action. Using the gas passer affected my mood. I was sad and angry, knowing that I had to go back into the game to get more footage because I didn't have enough. Constantly waiting for someone to get ignited, burned, and then dying just to get an assist is sheer fucking agony. And then, when I was in game and finally got a chance to use the gas passer, after charging it, bullshit like this happened.
Just gonna toss it out there. What? The short circuit deleted it! Motherfucker! Oh my god! Fuck! Fuck that weapon! The one instance where I can finally use the gas passer and some moron brainlessly hits mouse 2 and fucking deletes it! God!
It's really saying something that I expressed pure jubilation when I managed to get 1 assist with the gas passer's afterburn over about 1 hour of play. I got somebody! The gas passer is the worst item to have ever existed in TF2. The enemy team certainly doesn't take offense when you use the gas passer, and your team would certainly benefit if you didn't. You can go ahead, take the gas passer, and pass it right into the fucking trash.
Yeah.
Oh god, the gas passer. God damn it, Zesty!
Did it work?
You killed me with the gas passer, you motherfucker!
Did it work?